Welcome, wisdom seekers. Welcome back to the Red Thread. We've got a lovely episode in store for you today. I've got a fantastic guest. And this is the third episode in our herbs for the season. And this time we're going to be talking about plant medicine for the autumn. It's just gone past the autumn equinox here in the Northern Hemisphere in the UK. And it's that fabulous time of harvest. If you don't know from listening to the previous episode, I really, really love this time of year. It's my time of year. It's my birth season, my star sign, and it really kind of suits my personality this time of year. So I really, really love it, and I really get involved in all the themes and the symbolism for this time of year. So for me, it's very much about the harvest and the abundance, and we're particularly thinking about berries and nuts as we move through to the end of September, and all those juicy things. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my wonderful guest. You'll know him from the spring and summer episodes. It is Nicholas Edwards.
Hello. Hi.
So just as a reminder, and anyone that's listening or watching now new, Nicholas is a medical herbalist, ethnobotanist, amateur linguist, and he traditionally has followed a earth-based spirituality. He's been very, very deeply involved in plants and learning about plants and their healing properties over the years. And I would very much recommend you go and listen to the first episode, because that's his origin story. So it talks about how he's become this wonderful herbalist, and how he's ended up talking to us today, because of course we are great friends. So I'm delighted to welcome you here again. Thanks for agreeing to do another episode.
Well, I'm delighted to be here, Vanessa. Thank you very much for having me again.
You're very welcome. So we're going to be talking about the plant medicine of the autumn season today. So let's dive right in. Tell us what's happening in nature right now.
Well, in the Northern Hemisphere, obviously, it's that time of year where plants are putting their energies, if you like, into their fruits, and in some cases roots as well. Especially those plants that need to, they need to survive the winter months, and they survive by, putting everything into the roots. And you may see the aerial parts of the plant, the parts above the ground, they might wither or die or fall away, but the plant is still alive. It's sort of hibernating in a sense in its roots. Yes, obviously, it's a familiar sight of leaves falling off trees, and it kind of feels like after the abundance of summer, it feels a bit like a loss, maybe, or a sort of a form of death. And it is in some ways, but in others it's not. It's just a change. But yeah, so many medicinal plants are harvested at this time of year if we need their roots. Roots are dug up, and this is the time of year to do it, because the plants have put all their energies into them. And obviously we have harvests at this time of year, so some plant medicine for fruits and berries as well. This is the time of year to be getting hold of them.
Of course, I'd forgotten about roots. Anyone who grows vegetables or has an allotment will this is the time where we start to harvest potatoes and the root crops as well as the berries, and that really resonates for me, because the archetype of this season is the sovereign, so the queen or the king, and actually that archetype is all about receiving. So you've had the abundant giving of the harvest, but you've also then got the sharing in your community and the receiving, and the roots are really pulling down all of the treasures, the gifts, the nourishment, and we can do that as well. So kind of pulling down the nutrients to nourish us through the winter. And I guess you're going to talk about what plants will nourish us through the winter as well.
Yes, well, there's a few. So in terms of root medicines, two that come to mind a lot, and perennial things, so they always come back because they're always useful for whatever reason. The first one is burdock, which is a familiar English countryside plant to a lot of people, and for those less familiar with the plant, people obviously know the name from dandelion and burdock, which is one of my favorite soft drinks. So glad they still make it. And dandelion and burdock as a soft drink obviously started life as a tonic, a herbal medicine. And it was a medicine. I use the word medicine, but I don't mean in the sort of more familiar modern sense of something that you take when you're ill, when you need something correcting. Dandelion and burdock would have been more like a medicinal food or a tonic that people would have just taken anyway to maintain good health. And I think that's one of the main differences between herbal medicine and modern allopathic medicine. It's something that you take as more of a preventative. And yeah, so dandelion burdock would have been one of those things. Burdock is a superlative tonic for the liver, so it helps liver function and basically keeps it in good nick. Actually, that's another interesting difference between pharmaceutical medicines and herbal medicines. Herbal medicines will often be because they're complicated chemically, they won't just have one specific action like an antibiotic will, or like insulin does in the body. It has quite a diffuse, almost kind of, I don't want to say vague, but inspecific action that often focuses on one particular organ or one organ system. So burdock probably does lots of things in the body, but they are all generally related to liver function. So we think of many plant medicines as being good for the liver or good for the heart or whatnot, because they're doing many good things for that organ. So yeah, burdock is one of the main remedies for the liver. A dandelion would have been more for kidney function, but you know, taking the two hand in hand would have done wonders for our bodies going into the wintry period.
And I love dandelion and burdock as a drink. Actually, it's always been my favourite as well. And I know, is it? So let me get this right. Burdock is the kind of common, like, slang name for that, the dock leaf, or is it?
No, what we think of as dock. So dock is just an old English word for leaf, I'm pretty sure.
I see. Okay.
And so it was applied to lots of things. What we think of as dock leaves, the kind that we would scrunch up and rub against stings, that's not burdock. So burdock, the medicinal plant, is a plant called Arctium lapa, and it's quite a big, stout thing. Almost looks kind of like a thistle, and it's got this giant root, and it's, you know, real pain to dig up. The common docks, they are more related to the sorrel plant, sorrel and things like that. And they're the ones that you can get sort of long, narrow-leaved or broad-leaved docks, but they're the ones that sort of have the when they go to seed, sort of late summer, they have these sort of orangey red inflorescences. They're not they don't look like showy flowers. They're just sort of yeah, they don't really have petals, but they kind of look a bit like sea plants, I always think.
I think I know the ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, they are different, and that's one of the things about botany terms, gardening terms. That the word it could be any one of any number of plants. And the word dock is yeah, it's for lots of different plants.
Well, one of the reasons that I wanted to clarify is that I know we've got a particularly faithful listener who loved you on one of the previous episodes talking about nettle. So and I thought they might go hand in hand. So I wanted to shout out anyway to our lovely listener Stephen, who enjoyed our discussion on nettles on one of the previous episodes. So hello Stephen, I hope you're watching and I hope you're enjoying.
Hello.
So wonderful. So burdock, and you said there was another one that you wanted to talk about today.
Oh yeah, so elderberry. So I think we may have talked about elder as a tree before, but elderberry obviously should be out of about now. Maybe it's still a bit early, although everything's happened in nature really early this year. It was flowering much earlier in the year than normal, so maybe it's fruiting earlier too. I don't know if you've seen elderberries about.
Yes, I've definitely seen elderberries, and some of them are coming to the end of their berry phase now as well. So yeah, I think where the tree's kind of growing in a sunny spot, they're definitely much further ahead than the other ones.
Well, elderberry is one of the best supports that herbal medicine has for the immune system, and it's got a very long traditional use to help with sort of fevers and colds and flu and things like that, and it's one of the many plants that in more recent times has been investigated by researchers trying to discover how these plant medicines work, and there are very many antiviral properties to elderberries. In fact, actually, when I was surprised when I briefly lived in Kent last year, I discovered that local hospitals were trialing an elderberry juice extract for the treatment of coronavirus.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, how fascinating!
Yeah, I knew it was going on, and it was quite exciting to hear that it was a small scale study, but it was run by a hospital trust, and so they were really trying to. It was at that time when they were really trying to, look into anything that might help. And I tried to find the results to the study earlier, but there was nothing published, unfortunately. So don't know how it turned out. But from the point of view of herbal medicine, it does make perfect sense that you'd use something like elderberry because of its antiviral properties are quite well known. And it's thought to work by like many other herbal medicines, it's thought to work by stimulating the body's own immune responses. So there's a lot of talk about cytokines during when COVID was really happening, and so cytokines are little proteins that the body produces. They're like messengers in between the agents of the immune system. And so generally speaking, if they're working well, then the immune system's working well, so it's better able to fight off viruses and things like that. So and Sambucus, elderberry extracts have been found to make cytokines work better.
That's fascinating, and of course it is traditionally autumn is back to school, and everyone gets the kind of the colds and the flus of kids going back to school, and going back to work after holidays or whatever. So
Absolutely.
it is the time, isn't it, to give your immune system a boost, and with some preventative tonics and
Absolutely.
How fantastic.
Okay, so yeah, elderberries are that gorgeous sort of deep purple color, very recognizable. It's due to chemicals called anthocyanidins, and they are bluey red purpley pigments that you find all through the plant kingdom. So the things that make red cabbage, that's that kind of color, and broccoli and roses, the red petals. So they're everywhere in nature. And if anyone who's interested in chemistry, they act rather like litmus paper. So they change color according to the pH of their surroundings. So they are in a high pH, in an alkaline environment. They actually change color from the bluey red, and they sort of lose their color and go like yellowy or light green. So yes, anyway, that's just something I remember about those chemicals. So if you desperately need to test a pH of something out in nature, then you can use elderberries to do it. Yeah, and in terms of taking these things, I mean, most herbal medicines you get from a herbalist, and they come in the form of tinctures, and that's fine, those liquid extracts. But elderberries obviously are quite tasty. Well, they are if you add sugar. They can be a bit sour otherwise. But you can do a few things with elderberries. You can make elderberry rob, which is traditional preparation. It's basically just a decoction of the berries. So you get the berries in a bit of water and simmer it. You can add spices as well. That's a lovely thing. And I normally do an elderberry rob every winter. And then you can. So that's without sugar. It doesn't tend to last very long. That's the thing. It doesn't keep terribly well. You have to put it in the fridge. Or you can add sugar, obviously. Sugar isn't an issue for you. Make a lovely syrup, and obviously the sugar preserves it, lasts much longer. So that's really tasty. But to say the best thing that I've ever used and given people that had elderberry in was this. It's a combination of elderberry and echinacea and garlic glycerate. And it's an immune tonic that I used to make again when I lived down in Kent, and I worked for a herbalist in her shop there. And we made this tonic, and the addition of garlic obviously made it taste a bit crazy. But oh my gosh, this is by far the most popular thing in the shop, and bottles used to fly off the shelves this time of year. People would swear by it. People would buy it a litre at a time, and they'd swear by it. They would take a little bit every day, and keeps the cold and flu away.
Oh wow! And I'm kind of connecting garlic. My knowledge of garlic is that it's a blood cleanser. So does that kind of feed into the whole looking after the liver at this time of year? Have I made the right connections there?
Well, garlic, again, like all the herbs, like I said, it does more than one thing. It does many things. Yeah, it does keep blood fats down, and it keeps blood pressure down. But it's powerfully antimicrobial. So I think that's why it was added. Because it's really worthwhile. It's worth bearing the taste of garlic in order to get its goodness in you.
Fabulous. Oh well, that's amazing wisdom for this season. So thank you for sharing that. So docks and elderberries, and you mentioned echinacea and garlic, and all those lovely things which are going to be preventative measures for anything that's coming your way during the season, but also kind of supporting your immune system to fight as well. And of course, herbal medicine, it's an holistic approach. So you're advised always, and I remember when you've treated me, to the advice was to make sure that you're adapting any aspects of your lifestyle to support the action of the plant medicine as well. So I'm wondering if you've got any tips for self-care that would support the action of some of these herbs through the autumn.
Well, I think it's a case of being regular, and if you're taking something as a prophylactic or as a tonic preventative, you need to take it regularly, and that goes with probably all parts of your life. So regular sleep as well. I mean, sleep is just so important. I think we forget how healing it is. So yes, just doing something regularly. This is also the time of year where I make sure that I'm getting plenty of vitamin C and zinc as well, if not from food, which is obviously the preferable source. Then supplements are quite nice. I have to say, actually, one of the nicest way, another really good way to get some Sambuca elderberry into your life is that you can get I think it's called Sambucol, those effervescent tablets. And that I mean, I saw some in my local Asda the other day, so it's really easy to get hold of. But yeah, they're a super good way to get the goodness of elderberry.
Wow. And just to be clear, that is Sambucol, not Sambuca.
Absolutely not. Drinking a bit of Sambuca every day will not help your immune system, I don't think. But yeah, so Sambuca gets its name from Sambucus, which is the scientific name for the elder tree. So yes, they are related.
How interesting. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love talking to you. I always learn something. Really fascinating. Oh, that's brilliant. So you were talking about kind of a regular activity, maybe part of a routine. And for me, I'm going to wax lyrical about creating order in your life at this time of year. And Nicholas, you'll know me as being quite orderly and organised, and I like a routine. And that's why I love this time of year, because for me, it's first of all, it's a great time to have a clear out. Now, whether that's a physical clear out or mental clear out. I talked on the autumn equinox episode about letting go and releasing, and Nicholas, you mentioned the trees are releasing their leaves at this time of year. It's a great time to do some very simple ritual work about just letting go of thoughts, behavior patterns that might be holding you back, and just having a really good clear out, kind of mentally, emotionally, and physically, and then setting some intention for some new routines, and I like to think of it like when you see in agriculture, they've harvested the crop, and then they've kind of ploughed in, and they've started to make the fields look all lovely and neat with those nice neat furrows where they're going to plant the seeds. And I like to think of myself like that. Right, okay, what new routines, what am I going to do to kind of support myself into this new season? And sleep is a great one, and I'm actually going to take that away as a personal action, because we talked before we came on air, didn't we, about how sleep cycles, it can be quite difficult adapting from the long days of summer back, the day in the northern hemisphere, the days suddenly seem to get very short. The evenings suddenly seem to be darker.
Yeah.
And the energy and my personal energy changes. And so having a regular sleep routine and supporting that with the plant medicine that you've suggested is great practice, I guess, at this time of year as well.
It is indeed. Yeah, now's the time to be sowing those seeds, thinking about your what you want to get out of it for next year's harvest.
And kind of boosting your own health to see you through the winter.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been great talking to you. Thanks again for coming on. Nuggets of wisdom, treasures and gifts that you've bestowed upon us again. I love it. And I'm also wondering if there are, going forward into the winter, whether there are any plants that we could talk about for a winter episode.
Yeah, there definitely are. Yes, I like talking about the spicy ones in winter, because they bring that sort of warmth that we're lacking in this country at that time of year. So yes, some more roots in the form of ginger, and maybe some bark in the form of cinnamon.
Oh, you've got me excited for the next installment now. So but we're going to leave it there for today, and I'm really deeply grateful. So this is my harvest, really, and the abundance that I'm grateful for at this time of year, and me receiving this lovely wisdom and sharing with all the people who are listening. So thank you, Cole, for being on. My lovely friend, thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you for making this happen.
So until the next time, thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Bye.